about NFT art and activism.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Actually, that's crazy that you brought up Nadia because part of Visible Women, we created an NFT for Pussy Riot and in honor of the work that she's doing on behalf of women's rights and abortion's rights. And uh, that's a really, really kind of big part of being at the heart of expression. So when you think about art as activism, it's it's not necessarily about art and it's not necessarily about what you want to do with your time. It's how do I want to express myself? There's so many different ways to express yourself. You can the art of conversation. There's art in terms of using medium. There's art in terms of NFTs. So I think that it's a much broader conversation about what you want to do with your time, what kind of message you're trying to put out into the world, and that was kind of part of the heart of why I founded Visible Women, because I had been spending over 10 years learning about the intersection of gender and media. And I was introduced to the topic through having some work directly with Gloria Steinem, and then learning a bit about the work that Gina Davis was doing in the space. She created an organization called See Jane Run, and she received some wonderful recognition for that work. I think it was at the Emmys or it was at the Oscars recently, and now it's called the Gina Davis Institute. And we started talking about what is the messaging we're receiving in media. And when we think about art as activism, we're also thinking about media, because media is the art of what you're experiencing in terms of film, in terms of television, and then there's also obviously fine art and NFTs and gaming and AI and VR. This is not contained to any sort of one medium. There's so many different mediums to express what it is that you want to express. So I got involved in this work and I said, how will I want to express myself? I was very fascinated. I was learning about, I had two young daughters at the time, and we were watching TV shows like, anybody see One Tree Hill in the room? Things like, I mean, these like iconic shows, and I'm not sure if you felt this yourself, but this is what I felt. I felt, wait a second, in every show, it seems that the goal is for the girl to get the guy. You know, like how do we find the right boyfriend? How do we find the right other person? And honestly, it's not even just girls and guys and girls. How do we find the other that's going to complete ourselves? And I said, there has to be kind of another way to approach this and another future. And truthfully, this was 10 years ago, I'm reading a really kind of the moment book. And I found myself right now, even doing 10 years plus of work, I was reading like first 20, 30 pages, and you see a relationship happening. And you say, well, either it was two best friends and they're sort of fighting over the guy, which is like typical kind of triangle. And I'm rooting for one of them to get the guy. And I just stopped myself. And I said, why am I rooting? Is he a great person? Like, why am I kind of falling into the ideas of what we want from other or what someone else should want from other? And it was very interesting, even inside of a project like Visible Women and the founder of Visible Women, in right now, the book I'm reading before I go to bed, I have to kind of think about these ideas about gender and media and what we are looking for to achieve in our lives, and how do we kind of take ownership over that. And interestingly enough, I just bumped into Lou of Crypto Mondays. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Crypto Mondays. Is pretty well-known community inside of the NFT Web3 space, and we started talking just off the cuff about agency. And the truth is, we sort of renamed Visible Women recently to Visible Women Agency, and it was prompted off of a very, again, I like to transcend and break all the rules, and I think a lot of us here are kind of rule breakers at our heart. We're at a conference and there's some rules here, but it started in more like a disruptor culture and people that are looking to pave new paths. And part of that is saying, what is this idea of agency? And I was listening to Chance the Rapper, and he was speaking at an event at Art Basel in Miami, and it was kind of a happenstance that I was there. And someone posed the question, who was he collaborating with? And he said, I like to collaborate with people I vibe with who are pro-agency. And I said, that's amazing that I'm at a talk with Chance the Rapper, and he just really coined in one phrase the heart of Visible Women, which is kind of finding people you vibe with who are also pro-agency. And when you talk, so we are really referring to ourselves right now as Visible Women Agency, and we're talking a lot about agency. And we also use that in terms of art as activism. So we like to silo everything. You're right, we're all here, and like someone told me when I said I'm speaking about art as activism, where's the art stage? And I was very happy to be on the entertainment stage, because the truth is, we don't have to follow these rules and categories. Art is a form of expression, and inside of Visible Women, we're trying to have these conversations about how to express yourself, how to get what you want, how to think about what you want and achieve it, and find others that are vibing with you around that. It's not just, convincing everyone of things, it's connecting. So an interesting thing happened at this intersection of really art and agency, where we just did a very exciting event at DVF, Diane von Furstenberg's store in Meatpacking. And part of the event, we were putting up art. So there was a projector on the wall. We were creating an art experience around all the different co-collaborators. We had co-hosts for the event. We had about 20 artists involved in the event. And we said, well, how can we bring this together in something beautiful, right? We all promote ourselves in different ways. And often what we do is we default to things. We say, okay, I have to promote myself. It has to be corporate, right? It has to look like my logo. It has to be something that's everyone is going to recognize me. Like, we're putting ourselves in a box. So we said, how do we explode that box? And we created this art experience, and it was a lot of work. We did it like really quickly. And when I saw what we created, where it had 20 different artists, 6 different, kind of co-hosts of the event, and then we kind of swirled it all together like a chef with a ton of ingredients. And I looked at the meal, the visual meal that we created. And I said to myself, I've never really seen in a few slides like this so many artists, so many brands represented. I think we just incubated an artist in residency program. So I didn't set out to create an artist in residency. I was just sort of doing the work, organically seeing where it led. And when we talk about art as activism, I think we think of a lot of destination. Like, what is it that I want, and what am I trying to promote, or how am I using art? But I'm trying to unravel that. Actually, I was just speaking about you, Lou. I said that we were, yay, thanks for coming, because I was talking about agency. And I was looking at what was created, okay, rather than being so particular about it, all right? I just looked at it and really spent time doing that. I said, I think we incubated something here, because what we did is each artist that we were trying to promote, we collaged into the Visible Women logo. Again, having no intention for it to be activism, just for the joy of the work. Wouldn't this be fun? Wouldn't it be fun to collage these artists in? And then all of a sudden I said, you know what? We could collage a lot of artists in, right? We could put out there that we're going to do an artist in residency program, which I did. I put up a post on social media. So then again, we're talking about art as activism. How do you do that? It could be as easy as putting up a post and saying to people, you know what? Hey, DM me. Would you want to do an artist in residency? And guess what? They did. And now there's a whole, I'm announcing it somewhat here, but I'm saying, why aren't we doing this across the board in advertising? Think about brands. I mean, I'm going to just do a shout out right now. This is my son, Adam. He has an NFT project. No, but it's a perfect thing to explain. He's very passionate about sustainable energy. He created an NFT project, little, shameless promotion, which everyone should do. It's called Cybertrucker Club. But I said to myself, let's say Elon Musk folded some of the Cybertruck NFTs into branding for Tesla. I mean, Adam loves sustainable energy. Who wouldn't want to connect with an artist that was really passionate with the work that you're doing? Not only that, as I was working this all out in my mind, there's a lot of work that has to be done now. We need agreements, we have to make arrangements, we have to make sure that these artists are credited for their work, that they're comfortable with it, that it's a mutually beneficial relationship, right? Cutting back to Chance the Rapper, you want to vibe, you want it to work out. But the truth is, I could have resort to stock photos, right? That's a lot easier, so you could sit there and say, forget about the artist, it's gonna be too much work, we can do sort of a version of this in-house. And what I'm trying to, and that really sat with me poorly. I was like, how can I be about visibility? How can I be about agency? How can I be about doing this work and not do the work, right? Because that's what across the board people do. They use stock photos, they use stock images, or they appropriate work, right? When we think about NFTs and we think about why we're all here, it had to do with transparency, it had to do with credit for work, being paid for your work. So the truth is, I said, no, I'm gonna have to invent. I'm gonna have to innovate. I'm gonna have to create an artist in residency program, which then, somewhat unintentionally, selfishly, which will be beneficial for visible women, because I am pro-agency for myself, Stacey. I'm pro-agency for visible women. I'm now pro-agency for each artist we're gonna intersect with. We're gonna benefit, they're gonna benefit, we're all going to rise together. So when we talk a little bit about feminine intelligence or this intersection with gender and media and this work that I'm doing, it's like, wait a second, we don't have to compete with one another. We can collaborate with one another. We can basically say, I can benefit and you can benefit. And I think that's sort of a big reason why we are here today, is to figure that out. You know, it's about how can I believe in another project and be part of it? Sometimes that's buying an NFT. Sometimes that's participating in an artist in residency. Sometimes that artist in residency can be for profit for the artist, for profit for my organization, and also be activism. Like, we can literally redefine activism, because I think another real big barrier, especially for women, is relegating themselves, and it's happening with a lot of projects, honestly. A lot of it is turning into only a promotion of charity work. That's sort of the comfort zone. You know, like, we're doing a lot for charity. But yet, Web3 and NFTs was really born out of an ethos of being paid for your work. I mean, that's really, I think when you talk about visibility and you talk about agency, artists want to be paid. Founders want to be paid. Creators want to be paid. And there's something bad about that. You know, we sort of have this comfort zone, especially for women, to say, oh, it's so wonderful, it's so charitable, you know, but that person also has bills to pay and obligations to meet and desires and joys and things they want to do. And you also can earn money and then give back as you please. So I think there's an idea here where you can redefine activism, redefine how you're using art. Art doesn't have to be just something that you're looking at and in a museum. You know, that's another thing that sort of, there's a lot of disruption going around. What is art? You know, we actually just recently did a talking circle that's sort of, again, tying back to Gloria Steinem, which I'd love to do now. And if anybody at any point wants to sort of ask a question or get involved, you know, I have permission to do that. And that's really what I prefer to do most, because I think, you know, again, at the ethos of the beginning and the birth of Web3 and NFTs is there are no experts. And I think that really should be carried over far more than just this arena and this conference or in this, that's in your life. That most of the most intelligent people are curious learners. You know, so I know that there's so much I can learn from everyone here, and I hope, again, I'm just feeling very grateful for you to be here and listen to, you know, what I'm passionate about, but there really isn't any expertise. And every single day, I'm reinventing, and every single day, I'm pivoting. And I'm allowing myself, which we talk about this a lot later, I'm abandoning perfectionism. I'm celebrating or figuring out, it's not easy. I don't wanna like romanticize this, because when I make whatever I consider to be a mistake, I get frustrated, of course. I fall into old habits, and then I have to kind of do all of this process on myself. You know, it's not easy for me. It's probably even easier to talk about it than to practice it in my own life. But, you know, part of even this new art as activism or artist residency program really came out of a bit of pain, because I felt like I was participating in events. We put a ton of work into a projection, like an art experience. I'll give you the backstory. The day of, the equipment wasn't working, okay? I mean, this is life. This is the true life, you know, where you sit there and you say, okay, with all good intentions, with all these partners, like, oh my gosh, I've never seen a better presentation. It's artful, it's beautiful, it's gonna promote everyone. Cut to the event, we're at DVF, everything's amazing. Projector's not working. Then many other sort of snafus occurred. You know, I was saying I could have had as or more interesting of a conversation at DVF when we were talking about women in art and fashion. The behind the scenes, that was happening at DVF before we kind of started talking, and all of the kind of use of what I refer to as feminine intelligence to rise above and say, despite the challenges that are happening, how can we make the best of what is being presented, you know? And so I think these are sort of the empowering, or it's really self-power. You know, it's like, what can I do to create new thought processes? What can I do to be open to new connections and new people and new collaborations? What can I learn from people that are possibly doing something in a way that I wish I was doing it, right? Like, rather than sort of looking and saying, okay, that's my competitor, they're doing so great, and feeling bad, saying, that's really motivating me. You know, like, wow, I'm so great. I'm so happy that they're, you know, upping the bar, and now I get a chance to rise. You know, so there's sort of all of these changing thought processes. And we've hosted events on very, like, I didn't really think they were edgy topics so much when I was thinking about it, because one of the topics we confronted, or we talked about recently with a very prominent NYU professor and sexologist, her name is Dr. Jana. I could perk everybody up here when you talk about sex, but we were talking about monogamy and non-monogamy. And a lot of people said, you know, we talk about activism, right? Activism is not just like doing volunteer work, right? Activism can be how you live your life. And so I didn't even realize it. Again, this is all that like intuitive, unintentional, but yet motivated by things, my own self-interest. I was like, I'm interested in this. I met Dr. Jana. I thought she was amazing. I thought other people would be interested. I say I'm hosting a conversation about monogamy and non-monogamy, and people were a bit upset, honestly. They said, why are you promoting non-monogamy? And I said, I'm not promoting non-monogamy. I'm learning. I don't know anything about it. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe I do or don't in my own personal life, but that wasn't the point. The point was, I'm not an expert. I'm not holding myself out to be an expert. I'm hosting a conversation, and we're talking about monogamy and non-monogamy, and it definitely ruffled a bunch of feathers, and it wound up being activism. So I feel like that's what I hope, you know, and again, I would love this to be more conversational style, but that's sort of the work that I'm doing, that I feel so good about. It's not that I'm an activist. I'm pursuing the work that I love. It is based on my own self-interest. It's based on my own curiosity. And when I'm following that, I'm finding others that share those curiosities. And sometimes, again, I'll quote back to Gloria, because I love this kind of expression of hers. But I think she spent a lot of time in her life. She's 89 now. And I spent a lot of time in my life trying to convince others. And I think that has happened a lot in Web3 and NFTs also, right? There's a lot of pushback, right? People that like it, that don't like it. I can keep going? Okay, good. Okay. I would just say to you that she has this expression, you could spend your whole life trying to convince others, or you can actually, going back to Chance and Gloria, you could find the people you vibe with. And probably you could spend an entire lifetime and not find all of those people. Like, if you just focused on that, the people you are vibing with, you would spend a whole lifetime and have limitless new people to connect with. And I know Lou of Crypto Mondays is here. He's doing that with Crypto Mondays, meaning people are just coming to find people that they vibe with. And it's global, as is Visible Women. It's global. People want to make new connections, and it's limitless. So I hope that you'll get more involved with Visible Women, and I'm so grateful for you to be here. And again, I'll be here to talk a little bit, and if you check out any of our programming, it is always more conversational and talking circle oriented. But again, I really appreciate you listening and for being here. Thank you.